As far as this faculty development program, what they have given, the topic is a very vast topic, I think so, and it is a very interesting topic. And those who are new to this topic, the first time taking this particular subject, they will be of more interest towards this subject. So already those who have handled this subject may see many concepts just to refresh their knowledge. So it may be like that. So I will be starting now. Before starting, as I think there is a similar issue, I may mute my video. So there is no problem for you, I think. So two important topics from the electronics devices and circuit. So that is what we are going to discuss for the next 2 hours. The first topic is about PN junction devices, and the next one is transistors and transistors. That is actually covering 2 units of your syllabus. So under PN junction devices, what we are going to see is these are the topics. So it starts from PN junction diode, and we will be seeing structure, operation, and VI characteristics, diffusion and transition capacitance in importance. So how they are going to have the relationship or characteristics orientation for this PN junction diode. Next we go to rectifiers. Under that we go for operational wave. Then we move for display devices, and in particular we are going to see the working principles of LED and laser diode. And the last we move for Zener diode. So reverse characteristics and Zener as regulator. So this is the topics we will be seeing. And under transistors and thyristors, so we are going to see the structure, operation, characteristics, and biasing of BJT, JFET, and MOSFET. And after this, we move to thyristors. That is, we will be seeing about UJT, thyristors, and IGBT. So their structure and character. So in short, we will be seeing one by one, and we will move from here to the particular topic. So starting is PN junction diode. It is PN junction diode, and in normal, this is the basic component where we start with other types of devices. So what we have in a PN junction diode, a P-type material and N-type material. So you form a junction between these two, and by external supply, either you call it as forward bias and reverse bias, we are going to see the pattern. And what it is shown is here the schematic symbol, and in real time, so this will be your actual model. So this is a physical component where you will see a strip marks, where that strip mark shows that it is the cathode and the other terminal is anode. So starting from how they are formed, we will be having P-type means where more number of holes will be available, and N-type more number of electrons will be available, and when they are joined together, some of the excess charges recombine and make a barrier potential. So this is how the theory goes. But I don't want this type of thing for a starter, because this is everywhere it is available. Okay. So now we will get into actual type of teaching, how the teaching has to be done. The PM, some basic information has to be known to us. So that is just refreshing. Already we know the details, just we have to. So we will be starting from the periodic table. Okay, that is chemistry. So from periodic table, so these important 9 characters has to be known. So from the periodic table, we are just taking a part of the book. So the very important thing is silicon, then comes the germanium, then along with this we go for boron, then aluminum at the side, and we have gallium the side, and here it is arsenic. Okay, and by the side of the silicon we have phosphorus over the nitrogen, and that is the carbon. Okay, so usually this is called group 3, and and this is called group 4, and this is called group 5. And this group represents the valence electron. Okay. So valence electrons. Okay. So outermost shell is having 3 or 4 or 5. So that is the meaning of this one. And how many actually the things will be available? That is electrons and protons given by this number. So it goes like this: 5, 6, 7, and here it goes from 13, 14, 15, and below is 31, 32, and 33. Okay, so usually from the thing we know nucleus, that is the basic of the atom. So inside what is the protons and neutrons will be there. Protons are positively charged and neutrons are no charge at all, and there will be shells around this, okay, which will be carrying the electrons. And these electron shells follows the rules of 2 to the n square. So that is the maximum number of electrons each shell can hold. So the first one means so first shell, okay, and 2 into 1 square equals 2. Okay, so second shell, so it goes like this. Okay, so third, so like that it goes. So here what we are going to discuss in your PN diode is about silicon and germanium, in particular. So silicon, you can see, so the first has to have 2, and the next according to this it has to contain 8 electrons. So 10 is over, and the last one, what we call it as outermost shell or valence shell, will contain 4. And similarly in germanium, the first shell will have 2, and the next will be having 8, and the next will be having 18. So the last one, so how much is remaining? So yeah, last 4. So you can see the outermost is having 4, 4. Then only it is called the group 4. Okay, and we have outermost electrons are 4, and we call it as this becomes the basic structure where the PN diode is contained. Either it may be of silicon or germanium or something. Okay, right. Now coming to how this becomes a p-type or a n-type. So how it becomes p-type? So outermost shell is having 4 electrons. So these 4, when it combines, okay, that is your silicon plus any pentavalent group 4 element is added, then what happens? 4 outermost shell is, according to pentavalent, outermost valence will be 5. So 4 will be shared to form the covalent bonds, and 1 will be in excess. Okay, so this forms your excess in electron, so n-type. And similarly, this silicon plus trivalent. Okay, so third group, any component if you add, that is doping, what we call this doping, it comes as p-type. Why? Because there is 4 electrons are needed for forming the covalent bond, and 1 is not available, only 3 is available. Absence of the electron, we take it as holes, so excess of 4, we call it as pentavalent. That is here it is trivalent, so more number of holes will be available, so it becomes a p-type. So this is how a p-type and n-type is. So now coming to the actual concept, a p-type material is available and a n-type is available. So if this is p and n, here holes are available and here electrons are available. Okay, so this is how we have your p-type and n-type material, right? So now in a PN diode, we are going to join this P and N type. So when joining, what will happen? So that is the thing we have to do. So a P type material and a N type material is joined for the first time. Okay. So here it is excess of holes in the P type, and here excess of electrons available. So what is the nature of these holes and electrons? We know that they are attract. So unlike holes attract each other, so they are going to attract. So when it is there, so these electrons attracted towards the holes, and the holes are attracted towards the electron due to their nature. Okay. So what happens at the junction region? At the junction region, we have holes getting inside, and here electrons are getting inside. So whether this process will be a continuous, all the electrons will be getting into P type and all the holes will be getting into N type. So no, it will not happen like that. Why? Because we know holes and holes will repel each other. Similarly, electrons and electrons repel each other. So what will be the nature? So whenever a P-N type is joined initially, a P type and N type is joined, the holes are attracted towards the electrons and the electrons are attracted to the holes. So from the P type, holes gets inside, and from the electron N type, electrons gets inside. Then once some electrons are inside your P type, these electrons will not allow the next coming electron inside. Why? Because electrons and electrons repel each other. So what happens? The nature. So this PN diode is going to have a structure like this. This junction is there. Here some holes are available. Then electrons are available. And here holes and electrons. This is N type and this is P type. Okay. Now you got the point. So this potential, this number of electrons here and here is framing a positive and negative potential. What we call it as barrier. This barrier potential. So this is the in natural APN diode will be available. Okay, if P type is there, N type is there. When joined, we have the holes are attracted towards the electrons, and the electrons are attracted towards the hole, and we have a PN junction. But what happens when a sufficient number of electrons and holes get into the other type of region? They repel the remaining electrons getting inside. Thereby, a potential barrier is created. So this barrier does not allow the other electrons to get into P type, and these holes will not allow the other holes to get into the N type. So this is a PN diode. Right, I think you understand now. Now coming to the forward biasing or forward characteristics and reverse characteristics, it is nothing but taking the same PN diode. Okay, a PN diode is available. So here what is there? A P type and N type. So here this is P and this is N. So this region has holes, and here there is a barrier potential, and here there are holes, but this is the nature of N type. And now this is connected to a positive supply and negative supply to the N type. So this external supply or external energy unit. So this is what we call it as battery or external supply. So here nothing, you can have it in terms of a higher concentration of holes and electrons. So these holes and this hole repel each other, make these holes to get into. Otherwise we can say these electrons are going to be attracted. Okay, in either way, movement of charge carriers will take place by this the holes and connected, that is a positive supply connected to P type and negative connected to N type. So what happens? The current movement of charge carrier is what we call it as current flow. So that is what we call it as there is a current flow. So what do you mean by this 0.6 or 0.7? We call it as cutting voltage. Cutting voltage, and this is particularly for silicon. Okay, and for germanium it is usually it will be 0.3, 2 or 3. Okay, so 0.3 voltage. So that is the barrier potential which will be available in a normal natural PN diode. So once your external supply is higher in terms of positive, P type and negative terminal to the N type material. So that is called positive forward biasing. So by that, when this forward biasing voltage is greater than this 0.3 in terms of a germanium diode, or in terms of silicon it has to be more than 0.7, that is 6 or 7. Then the charge noise move across the junction and the current is said to be flowing through that. So this is about forward biasing, and the current increasing the voltage external supply, the current starts flowing inside. Okay, the movement of charge carriers is very high. Okay, so this is what we call it as forward character. Whereas in the reverse characteristic, we can see that negative terminal. Okay, a negative terminal is connected to the P type, and positive terminal is connected to the N type of the material. So this is what it will make. So what will happen when you are going to have this arrangement? That is what we call it as reverse biasing, connecting the supply terminals to the opposite type of material. So it will make the barrier potential to be increased. Yes, sir. Any doubt? Okay.
No doubt, sir. Continue.
Okay. So this is a P and N type, and as we are connecting to opposite type, okay, negative and positive connected to here. So this charge carrier which is already available will be taken away. Why? Because here what is available? Electrons are available here. Okay, here holes are available. So these holes will be taken by this higher concentration of electrons. Electrons attract all the holes. So this layer will be going on, and this area is going to be very large as the excess carriers. Okay, here electrons, all the electrons has been taken away by the positive supply of the battery. So positive supply means more concentration of holes. So the holes attract all the electrons away, and this junction is not having any free charge carriers. Okay, no carriers at all available. So that is making so only the charge carrier movement will be very less and the very low current will be there. But when we increase this power supply, what will happen? And usually there will be two types of breakdown will happen. So one we call it as avalanche, and the other one is called Zener. So what do you mean by avalanche? Avalanche is nothing but when more voltage, more temperature will be created, and as the supply, that is the external energy is very high and internally there is no free charge carrier, the covalent bonding will vibrate and break down. What will happen? The covalent bond vibrate and break down, and due to the breakdown, what will happen? These electrons are released. So absence of the electron is what we call it as hole. So electron hole pairs will be generated and the current will start flowing. So after the breakdown, the current will be increased. So that is avalanche. Whereas in Zener, it is a particular type where the doping of the material is made in such a way at a particular reverse bias voltage. This happens at a particular voltage. This happens due to the doping concentration. The doping means adding of impurity. So that plays a major role of how many carriers, free charge carriers will be available inside. Okay, so this will be happening. So reverse characteristic, usually in a PN diode, there will be no flow of electrons. That is a minute, what we call it as minority charge flow. Okay, and in general, in ideal case, we will call it as in reverse bias, no current flow. The diode is not conducting. Okay, a forward bias, the diode is conducting. So ideally, we call it as short circuit, and in reverse bias, we call it as it is open circuit. Okay, so this is how a PN junction diode will be working. So here two important currents has to be taken into account. One is called diffusion current and another one is called drift current. So what do you mean by diffusion? So diffusion is nothing but concentration moving from higher region to the lower region. Okay. So here you can see diffusion current is due to the difference in the concentration of charge carrier. Okay. So here it is a high concentration and here it is a low concentration. So what happens? By nature, from the high concentration, it moves to the lower concentration and it becomes uniformly distributed. So this movement of charge carriers constitute a current, what we call it as diffusion current. Okay, and the next one is called drift current. So this is due to additional supply. Whenever it is connected to a external supply, we give the outside force or outside energy to make the movement of charge carrier. So the charge carrier movement due to external energy, and that is what we call it as drift current. Okay, drifting the energy level, so drift current. So these two places. In a normal PN diode, what will happen means the diffusion current will be equal to your drift current. Okay. So that will be a PN junction diode. Then we will be getting into forward biasing and reverse biasing accordingly it works. Okay. Now coming to the next topic, what we are it is transition capacitance and diffusion capacitance. So these two play a major role, and we have to know certain basics of this transition capacitance. So what is a transition capacitance? So here they consider these p-type, these conductors as one parallel plate of a one single side of a parallel plate capacitor, and these n they are considered as a one parallel conduction plate of a parallel plate, and in PTB this is what they call it as dielectric. Okay, so this forms a capacitor, what we call it as transition capacitor, and this is usually happening in reverse bias. Very important. The transition capacitance happens in the reverse bias junction diode, and this is due to the intermediate layer along with the P and N acting as a parallel plate. So according to the definition of a parallel plate capacitance, the capacitance is defined by, so C is equal to epsilon A by W, where epsilon is given by epsilon naught into epsilon R. Okay, so epsilon naught is a free space and epsilon R is depending upon the material relative permittivity. Okay, so if it is germanium or silicon, depending upon that we have to get. And A is area of the cross section and W is the width. So this width of this layer. So that is W. So based upon this, the capacitance will be calculated. So this capacitance plays a role in framing the characteristics of the diode. Okay, so this is transition capacitance when the junction is reverse bias. And the next one what we see is diffusion capacitance. So this is when it is forward bias. So you can see the power supply is getting forward bias, and it is called CD, and it is taken into care with respect to change in the charge carriers with respect to change in the electric potential. Okay, and this also plays a vital role as it is in forward bias, because the PN diode is used for the functionality of forward. Because reverse biasing it will not conduct at all. Okay, so here comparing these two capacitance, that is diffusion and transition capacitance, we can see that C and D will be greater compared to CD because of the width. Okay, the dielectric width which is between the parallel plate. as it is very low in the diffusion and it is very large in the transition capacity. So these characteristics plays a major role in training the characteristics, and we can see here the graph of the transition diffusion capacity. So transition is the reverse bias, and it is of depending upon the width, it is very low value. And in the forward bias, we can see your diffusion capacitance, and it is of high value. So this characterize your in the characteristics in terms of forward and reverse. Now, after knowing the functionality of the diode, we are moving to rectifier. So what is a rectifier? So rectifier, we know it is converting DC into pulsating rectified loop. It is AC. Okay, AC to pulsating DC. So very very important. So after that you have to include filter. Then only you can get pure DC. Okay, so in rectifier we have half wave rectifier, full wave rectifier. So in that full wave we are having using center tapping and a bridge type. Okay, so this is also a full wave, and bridge rectifier also a full wave rectifier only. And here it is called the center tap, using center tapping, and this is what we call it as, due to the arrangement of the diode, it is called bridge rectifier. So what is a half wave rectifier? And we know as we are applying the AC input signal, and we know the diode will allow only forward bias when it is positive and negative. So when it is positive and negative, it allows through the diode, and we have the value. So at least the positive half cycle is available across your resistor. That is the load. Okay, whereas the negative half, what happens? It becomes, when it is negative, the diode is reverse bias, so it is in cutoff state, so it is not available. The waveform is not available, and we have only your output when it is only forward bias. That is the positive half cycle alone available. So what it is called half wave. Okay, so this full thing is called full wave, and out of the full wave we have only this part, so it is a half wave rectifier. Now coming to the full wave, and the first one is under full wave rectifier, we go for center tapping. So center tapping, this is the center tapped transformer. So here the transformer, which will be having as the primary two inputs. Okay, so that is phase and neutral, whereas in the secondary there will be three terminals. So this in between is what we call it as center tapping. So three terminals will be available. So the arrangement for your center tap full wave rectifier is this. So during the positive half cycle, what happens? You can see the one of the diode is forward bias, whereas the other one is becoming reverse bias according to the power supply. For example, you can see it's positive, and the center tapping it becomes negative of one end and the other positive at the other end, and we have the terminal end, terminal is negative. So due to this arrangement, okay, so actually this ground is connected here. Okay, so we have to know this loop. So in this loop it is reverse bias, whereas in the upper loop it is forward bias, so we have the output. Okay, and in the negative half cycle, what happens? It is opposite. So here, so the upper half it becomes reverse bias, and the lower half becomes forward bias, and we have the waveform. But the direction of the flow is the same way. So we are having in the positive, that is in the upper side. We have the output in the upper side. Okay, so this is how your center tap full wave rectifier, that is the complete waveform, both your positive half and negative half is rectified. Okay, so we have this waveform. Now coming to the third type called bridge. This is the term. So this arrangement of diodes has to be in a correct way. If you change the position of these four, then we will not be getting. Okay, so you have to see the input is connected where a positive and negative of diode is available, and similar way there also the other end also, other terminal of the secondary of the transformer is also connected to that way. Okay, now we have your output. So where it is taken? So one end is taken from where both the positives of the diodes are connected and the other end is taken from where both the negatives of the diodes are connected. Okay, so this is how it has to be connected. So if you make change in this arrangement, you cannot get the correct output. Okay, now the flow in the positive half cycle. So you can see the positive arrangement starts from here and it moves through this. Okay, so positive, negative through the load resistor, positive, negative, and complete the loop, and thus you have your positive half cycle. Whereas in the negative half cycle, we have the opposite way, so we are connecting from the negative side. So we can either follow from top side or bottom. So bottom is positive, so from there if you follow, so this is positive, negative, through your the load resistor, positive, negative, and complete the loop. And we have the lower half of the input cycle also. Okay, but the flow is the same direction. You can see this is positive, negative. Okay, so that direction of this makes your output waveform in the upper half itself. So that what we call it as pulsating DC. If it is DC, what has to be? It has to be like this. But it is getting down and up, so you call it as pulsating. So how it can be converted? By applying filters. So there are two types of filters. One is the we call it by using capacitor, another one is using inductor. Usually it is what we call it as choke. Okay, so this is usually bulky in nature and will be used only on special application. Usually this capacitor type will be connected. Capacitor type of filter will be connected over here. Why we go for this capacitor type means because this is the which occupies low area, and for all DC applications it is of very low voltage. So in low voltage application, capacitor type of filter plays a very good role. Okay, so we have that. When you go for high voltage, then it goes for choke type. So here important factors what we have to compare is about the different parameters, what we call it as average DC current, DC voltage, and you. So here the important factor why it is always taken as pi means because the input waveform you can see it is 0, it is pi, and here it is 2 pi. But in the output waveform we are taking only this half wave, so it is pi, and this pi is going to repeat again and again. So when you are integrating, so we are taking only that up to pi will be taking, whereas in the input it goes up to 2 pi. So this pattern is going to repeat again and again. So the calculation with respect to input will be up to 2 pi the time period, whereas in output, so this pattern is going to repeat again and again. So your time period will be with respect to pi. So only we are having. So when you are going for integrating your input signal with respect to sine wave, you will be having this value. So IM by pi, and voltage means voltage by pi. Then RMS, so root mean square value for AC component, so it is IM by 2, and for full wave that is using center tapping, that is 2 diodes. Okay, there are 2 diodes, here it is 4 diodes, and here without center tapping transform. Okay, bridge type. So that is what we call it as advantage and disadvantage, and we have the value. So here we are concentrating about this one, that is maximum rectifier efficiency. It is 40.6% for a half wave, whereas it is 81.2% in terms of full wave. So you have to know the difference. So why it is? Because half of the way we are not using. Okay, and also actually when you are speaking, it has to be 50% if it is half wave. But while passing through the diode, you have to make say it will not be like this. Okay, so how it will be? After the cutting voltage only it will be going. Okay, after the cutting voltage you will be following the signal. So there is a loss that also. So only this 40.6. So similarly 2 diodes or 4 diodes will take into account. So this is what it is going to happen. So if the maximum rectifier efficiency, that means rectifying AC to DC is only 40.6 in half wave, whereas in full wave it is 81.2. Then ripple factor. So what is ripple factor? The amount of AC component in the DC output. So it is 1.21 times your DC AC component, but it is in the full wave, it is only 0.8% of the DC. Okay, so how much ripples? That is, what do you mean by ripple? So when the waveform is there like this. Okay, so this is what we call it as ripples. So small ups and downs, it is called ripple. So in the DC output, how much is this ripple? So that is 1.21 times in terms of half wave, whereas in full wave it is 0.4 times of the only a lower part. Okay. Then we coming to peak inverse voltage, very very important component. So that is when the diode is reverse biased, this is the value it can tolerate. If you are going more voltage than this peak inverse voltage of the diode, what will happen? The diode junction will be ruptured. Okay, the junction cannot be reformed, so it cannot act as a diode. Okay, so you must be very careful when this about this peak inverse voltage. Okay, so these are the things we have to have concentrate when you are going through the parameter. Then coming to the display devices and the LED and laser, we are going to see. So these come, you are taking importance in terms of visible spectrum. So visible spectrum. So how much it is visible? So usually visible, we call it as 400 to 780 nanometer wavelength. So this is what the rays which is radiated in this wavelength is visible to us. Okay. So other things are given here. We are not concerned as the time is limited. I move into that. So there are two types of radiation. One is non-ionizing, ionizing. So non-ionizing, it will not affect your health or things, whereas ionizing, it affects our body. Okay, so you have to be very careful. So what is the LED? So it is like a diode but different. So how it is different? By the composite, the semiconductor components available inside. Okay, the same process as a PN diode is happening, but the materials are different. So this makes the recombination releases an energy. So that energy is visible to us. Okay. So that if you want to see, so it depends upon the type of material. So you can see here ultraviolet. This is this component, and it is violet if it is indium gallium nitrate, and it is blue indium gallium nitrate with the voltage drop. Based upon this voltage, wavelength differs. So green, yellow, orange, red, everything depends upon the material combination. Other characteristics, everything is just followed by the same. That is your diode. It is forward bias. What happens? Due to the external energy, you get the electrons to be excited, and this excite when they recombine, they release a photon of energy. That photon is visible. That radiation is visible in a different color depending upon the chemical composition of the materials used to construct that LED. So to make it visible, we are having the special construction over that. Using the outermost thing is glass material of the lens is, and so that we can see it by our naked eye. Whereas in a normal PN junction diode, it is opaque in nature. Okay, right. So where and all this LED is used in sensor applications, say sensor to denote whether it is on off like that, in mobile applications. And we know incoming signal or going signals, then sign applications, traffic lights like that, and automating purposes, and signals, illuminations, and indicators. So wherever the visible color makes to understand some meaning, there everywhere you can use. So these can be arranged with sound treatment light type and go on with different applications. Okay. So this is about LED. And the last topic in our The first is the laser diode. So laser stands for light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. So light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. So this is also same type of diode component, but the internal function, the arrangement, mechanical arrangement in such a way, along with the characteristics of the chemical compound, it makes to happen. So what is the difference between this laser diode and the other diode, which is going to display a visible ray? The difference. For example, if you go for a sunlight, that is, it has multiple frequencies and they are not coherent. Whereas the normal bulb, it has single frequency, single color, but it is not coherent, that is not concentrated. What is the difference now? With the laser light, we have single frequency, that is single wavelength, that is coherent, that is concentrated. That is the important feature. So how this concentration takes place? So that is what we have to do. So that can be found from the arrangement. So how it is arranged? So the arrangement is in such a way. So for example, you go to the so whenever you use a forward power supply, forward bias the diode, it gets the energy, it excited to the highest level. So usually they will say it as, usually they will have lowest one is energy level 1, and there is a metastable state, what we call it as 2, and E3 is the excited state. So usually when it is excited, it goes to this one and it moves to here and then it moves to here. Okay, so this is the normal nature when you are applying external force. So this nature, when it is in the excited state, the timing to return to the original, okay, by the natural way of recombination is 10 to the power minus 8 seconds. Okay, whereas in the metastable it takes 10 to the power minus 3. Okay, so it takes more time. Okay, 10 to the power minus 3 compared to this one. That is, from excitation it can reach to the ground state very fast compared to the time taken to reach it. Okay, so it is minus 8 and it is minus 3. So you have to know that. Right, now this is what happens in the LED. Okay, so it is excited. After 10 to the power 8, it returns back. When it is becoming energy is released, that is what we call it as photon. So spontaneous emission is happening. Now you go for the next thing. We have the arrangement in the laser by a partial reflecting surface. That is, this energy, emitted energy, is not allowed outside and it is concentrated inside in the energy metastable state. So more number of things get accumulated in E2 because it takes more time, no? So more number of electrons is moving. Okay. So more number is moving to E3 and it is getting into E2, and E2 has more timing compared to the return time of E3. So it is getting concentrated more and more compared to the normal thing, what we call it as population inversion. So why it is population inverted? Because of this different timing of return. So due to this population inversion and the construction of a laser diode, this concentrated available photons in this level is allowed to get outside only after a permittable threshold limit. So it becomes a single wavelength concentrated and it is moving outside at a very intense beam. So that is what we call it as laser. So this is what the important principle behind the laser action. In normal diode, what happens? It is excited to E3, and when it is returning back, it emits a photon. We see the visible light. So depending upon the chemical composition, we see different lights. Okay. But in laser, what happens? It gets concentrated at the metastable state, and it is released outside as a concentrated beam. So that radiation is called as laser beam. Okay. So this is happening in that. So different type of functionality by population inversion. We call it as population inversion because it is higher than the ground level. So other characteristics, you go deep into the theory, it is of nanosecond and even spectroscopy response time and spectral width of order of nanometer are this high output power, and this can be according to the intensity we can use for different applications, maybe medical, manufacturing, so packing the materials for medical applications, any surgery, military applications, and communication and data storage. Okay, so we don't get into deep into that. And before getting into that, you will see about a comparison between LEDs and lasers. So LED linearly proportional to drive current, and here the laser is proportional current above the source. Okay, and the drive current is 50 to 100 milliamps peak, and whereas the source current here with the laser is 5 to 50 milliamps. So coupled power is moderate and high. So you can see how it is concentrated. Okay, and the speed is faster than average LED, and output pattern is narrower. We see that is by the what you say outside lens action, it becomes very narrower and it is very intense. Okay, so this is what the details we are doing. Right, we move to the next topic, the Zener diode. So it is a special type of diode where the doping allows the reverse bias to happen at a particular breakdown voltage. Okay, what we call it as Zener diode. That's all. Forward is normal. Okay, 0 to 3 depending upon whether it is germanium or silicon. Only reverse characteristics is in such a way that doping level is made in such a way that the barrier strength is going to occupy only this. Okay. So depending upon, it can be used for regulating 9 volt, 10 volt, 12 volt, like that it goes on. Okay. So this is the particular concentration of doping level, what we call it as Zener breakdown. So this happens according to the number of charge carriers available inside. How this can be used in the regulator. So here you can see. So the diode is here, and we know that the Zener diode always will be used in a circuit in reverse bias condition. Okay, right. So the AC signal is applied to a resistor, and it comes here. When it is positive, negative, what will happen? It is positive and negative. So it is reverse bias. Okay, this is negative and this is positive of your PNN. Okay, PNN type of your diode. But applied input signal is positive here and negative here, so it is reverse bias. So according to the breakdown voltage, so it is going to allow only. So that will be allowed here. Remaining, when it is not allowing, it will be available here. Okay. So when it is going to allow, it is going to allow at this point. Which is not allowed, this part is not allowed. So this part is not allowed through the diode, so we have in the output. When it is allowed through the Zener diode, we are not having in the output. Here we are not having that output. Okay, so this is how it is regulated. So it is regulating to a particular voltage. So above that voltage, what happens? Zener breakdown happens. So this frames the loop. Okay, loop is constituted here. Whereas if it is not below the breakdown, then the loop is going through your load resistor. Okay, so after the breakdown, it follows inside. Okay, so that is how it is cut off. So this is how the happening goes on. And this is a WA for positive and negative, you can connect. So this is how it can be used as a voltage regulator. Right. Already we have seen what is avalanche breakdown and Zener breakdown. So it happens due to internally created charge carriers. Okay, so the breaking of covalent bonds is your avalanche. Zener breakdown based upon doping level. Okay, so at a particular voltage, this happens. The breakdown happens, and the electron volt generated, and we have your current to be increasing. Now coming to the second unit, I think by 11 o'clock we have taken the second unit. So structure of a BJT. So only I have taken the basic very slow, because this is the formation you can know this is a back to back diode. Okay, so N type is N, P type is. Okay, so this P type is merged to form your P type, and this is N is available here and this N is available. Okay, so two junctions are available, what we call it as in the BJT, by base collector junction and base emitter junction, as it has three terminals, emitter, base and collector. By the name why it is called emitter, because it emits the electron. Base, why it is called base, because it is going to act as bridge between your emitter and collector. And C, collector, why it is called collector, because it is going to collect the electrons or holes. Okay, and there are two types here, one is NPN and PNP. So here it will be like this. Okay. So the basic functionality belongs to the diode. So only diode principles must be well known to you. So based upon that it will be good. So this is how this is happening. So here the doping level, how this N type and P type. We know the N type is made by adding a pentavalent impurity, that is the elements which have outermost valence electrons is 5. Okay, so 4 is used for covalent bonding and 1 electron is in excess. So these electrons in accumulation we have more number of free electrons, what we call makes the material to be N type. And in P type, the normal thing is added with a trivalent. So the outermost shell has only 3 electrons. So absence of a electron is what we call 4. For covalent bonding we need 4, but 3 is there, absence 1. So when it is combined, we have more number of holes, we call it as P type. Okay, so how the doping has to be done to form a BJT? So here the doping level has to be high, that is higher, and collector the doping has to be medium. This is also high level only, but compared to emitter it will be of low. Okay, and the base has to be light, very lightly doped. Okay, because it is going to just act. So by that itself we can know the collector current IC and the base current constitutes your emitter current. So this formula always must be in your mind. Ig is equal to Ig plus Ic, and we can say Ig is approximately equal to Ic. So this formulation must be having in your mind. Okay, now we read about so for example, if you take the emitter is emitting 100 electrons. So usually the base due to its doping level, a 10 will be recombined with the hole, and the remaining 90 will be allowed at the collector. Okay, so 10 will be due to the holes and electron recombination will be there. So everywhere we can see the movement of charge carriers plays the role. So only movement of charge carriers is what we call it as current, and so your BJT is called current controlled BJT. So the characteristics, if you want to see, there is two characteristics. One is what we call it as the BJT input characteristics and output characteristics. So what do you mean by input? It is with respect to the input voltage and input current. So what is the input voltage? It is based to emitter voltage. And what is input current? It is IB. Okay. And it is a normal diode. Okay. So base emitter means what? It is base is of, if you take a NPN transistor, base is of P type and emitter is N type, which normally forms a PN diode. So after the cutting voltage, your current starts increasing. It allows the movement of charge carriers and meter. So that is the characteristic. Okay. So to collect the current, it has to have some voltage between the collector to emitter. So it has to be greater than 1 voltage. Why? Because it cannot be below this value 13 voltage 0.56. Okay. So this is about input character. So greater than this voltage, what happens? Input voltage increasing that voltage, input current will be going on increasing. Whereas in the output characteristics, you can see it is output voltage taken usually it is if you are considering NPN transistor in common emitter configuration. Okay, we will see about that configuration shortly. So collector emitter voltage is the x-axis and the output current is collector current in the y-axis. And here we define three regions. One is you call it cut-off region, then we call it as active region, active or linear region, or you can call it as you wish. So cutoff means no current at all. Active, we can see current is proportional, output current is proportional to the input, and saturation output current becomes constant. Okay, so this is about the character. So for each and every input, the characteristics will be different. Okay, so for example, 0.1 milliamps of your input IB, this will be usually input IB will be microamps. Okay, that in your mind, because input will be of very low, whereas the output will be high, so you take it as milliamps in the output. Okay, so usually you have it in the class, and have the in general I'm saying that. Okay, and depend upon the transistor where you get it from, which company you get it, it differs. Okay, so usually the input current in microamps and output will be in milliamps. So that is the value, and this is the output current. And three different configurations we can use this UJT, that is, which is among the three terminals, which is going to be common for both input and output. Okay, so configuration, what do you mean by that? How among the three terminals, which is going to be common with respect to input and output. So the common emitter means emitter terminal. So this is emitter terminal where we have the arrow mark. Okay, for NPN the arrow mark will be showing outside, and for PNP transistor the arrow mark goes input. So by that direction you can find out which is NPN transistor and which is a PNP transistor. Okay. So in a common emitter terminal will be common for input and output. So what will be the input? Base will be the input, output will be collector for a common emitter configuration. Whereas in common collector, you can see here, okay, we will come common collector later, we go for common base. You can see the base is common for both input and output. So what is the input? Input is emitter and collector is the output. But here, when you compare the circuit, you may see that emitter is common here. No, that is not the sense you have to take here. You have to take in terms of by signal. Okay, so you can see the input is provided between base and ground. Okay, so with respect to AC alone, if you see this DC source, you can short circuit. Okay, so with respect to ground, this is positive and this is connected to ground. Okay, so base is the input. Now coming to your emitter we are taking here with respect to ground. Okay, output is taken from emitter, there is a resistor output, load resistor, and we get the output. Okay, so with respect to emitter, we are getting the output. Now come to the collector. Collector, where it is connected, you short circuit the DC source, it is connected to the ground. So with respect to the ground potential, input is given, output is taken from the input. Okay, so collector is connected to grounding, signal ground, we call it a signal ground. So with respect to the signal, input and output signal, AC signal, we can see that input is base and output is emitter, and your collector is grounded, signal grounded. Okay, so collector is common for both input and output, what we call it a common collector configuration. So in this configuration, if you are going to calculate the voltage gain, current gain, so what is gain? Gain in terms of, in general formula, output by input. Okay, so what is the input you are giving and what is the output you get? If you are going to see, comparing, it will be common emitter configuration gives a very high value compared to the other one. Okay, so usually they call it as greater than unity in terms of common emitter, whereas the common collector, your current gain will be more than unity, whereas voltage gain is low, and here is the opposite in common gain. So common emitter configuration is the configuration where everywhere it will be used. Okay, normally an amplifier, what is the configuration? Common emitter. Why? Because the gain is high compared to your other two configurations. So we have that. Okay, so that is the important reason why we have everywhere common emitter configuration. Right. Now the important thing, we have seen the structure, we have seen the operation characteristics, we are coming to bias. So why we have to go for bias? That is the first thing. So this is here. So biasing is nothing but having your operating point at a particular voltage, that is for a particular input, particular output in that area without any change for a long duration. Okay, so a proper voltaging has to be given to the transistor to maintain your output at a proper level. Because already we have seen that the BJT can be operated either in cutoff, saturation or linear region. But for amplification, it is usually allowed in the linear region. Okay, so this is what we call it as linear region. In this, the center part is where your operating point. So what do you mean by operating point? The input voltage for which we get a output current. Okay, so the input voltage means that corresponding input current and the output voltage, for that we get an output current. Okay, so why we have to have that point without changing either it going to saturation or cutoff? Why? So that you can see by AC signal. So if you want to have the characteristics, okay, so this has to be amplified. So this can be amplified only between these things. Okay, so saturation means what happens? It becomes a constant. If it is going to cut off, it becomes zero. Okay, so it must not be a constant one, it must not be a zero value. Then what it has to be? According to the change in the input, output has to be changed. Okay, then only it is called amplification. So what is the input level? Input level it is microamps, output is milliamps. So we can call it as an amplification. So what is the need now? This operating point must not go here or go here. If it goes up, what happens? If it is like this, then what happens? This part will be constant, becomes, it will not change with respect to the input. A constant output will be there, but there is a change in the input. So amplification means the waveform must not be affected. Only the signal strength has to be amplified. Okay. So here the waveform is distorted. Similarly, when it moves down, what happens? It is having no value, cut off, no current will be given. So this part will be clipped off. Okay. So if it is going below, what will happen? No output will be available. If it is going up, what will happen? It will be constant. Okay. So this must not happen. This must not happen. So your Q point or operating point or potential point must be available here, must not change at all. So only you go for bias in the circuit. So there are four different bias. So what you call it as base bias. So this is what we call it as fixed bias. Fixed bias. Then plus emitter. So that is what we call it as emitter stabilized bias. Then collector is a collector to base. So it is collector to base bias and voltage divider bias. So this is voltage divided by resistor R1 and R2. So there are four different types of biasing, and in this the stability, more stability can be given by this voltage divider biasing, which is also called as self biasing. Okay, right. So four different types of biasing to make your operating point unstable. Okay. But there is a problem in this biasing circuit. Why? Because there is a feedback loop over. Okay. So feedback loop, what do you mean by feedback loop? From the output, a part is taken to the input. From the output, a part is taken to the input. So due to this, what happens? The maximum output will not be getting. So you can go by alternate what we call it as compensation. The same Q point can be made stable by compensation, and this compensation you can use three types of devices, that is using diode, and you can go for thermistor, and you go for sensor. So this is negative temperature coefficient, this is positive temperature coefficient, and diode we know, and it is based upon biasing. Okay. So how this is going to happen? Any change due to temperature, it is going to be looped in such a way the output increment will be decreased by decrement in the input, because output is based upon input. Okay. So when input changes, output changes. Okay. So you are going to connect the diode, thermistor or sensor in such a way into the circuit so that output increment will be decreased in the input by this compensation device. Okay, so this is how you can stabilize your Q point. So there comes this biasing. So biasing is point available in a particular area alone. So in particular, if you want to see this relations with respect to how it is biasing, we always go for Kirchhoff's voltage law in terms of input and in terms of output. By that we can get the input relation and output relation. That is what we are creating here. Okay, so we have to go by Kirchhoff's voltage law. Using that law, we have to make it up. Right. I wanted to into more details, but time is not allowing me to do. So in particular, if you want anything, you can comment it. So I will give it at last. So there are four biasing, and in four things. What is the important type? It is about voltage divider biasing. Okay, otherwise the other name is called self biasing, which is important among the four things, which is in most stability. Okay, but there is a drawback, that is there is a negative feedback loop which makes the output to be reduced. Okay, and then the temperature also affected, so we have to take care. Okay. Now coming to field effect transistor. Okay, so field effect means the voltage is getting the name change inside, so we can call it as voltage control device. Okay, so you have to have that in your mind. This is voltage control, whereas BJT is current control, and the current controlling device has both charge carriers. Okay, so as P and N type both are involved and both junctions are there. The majority charge carriers and minority charge carriers are allowed inside. Whereas in this, majority charge carriers alone will be taken into account for complete functionality. Okay, so now coming to the classification. So junction field effect transistors, and there is other category called metal oxide junction. Under junction we have depletion mode alone. So, but in MOSFET we are having depletion mode and enhancement mode. So this depletion mode is usually called as normally on. Okay, whereas enhancement it is normally off. Okay, that is the zero input voltage, you can make the transistor on. So that is what is depletion. So that depletion type only we are having. And in the JFET we have two types, N channel and P channel. And the same thing is the category of MOSFET also, either in depletion mode or enhancement. So additionally there was one more construction where we can have enhancement mode. So which is by zero voltage, the transistor cannot be turned on. So you have to apply a positive supply in terms of N channel to make it on. Whereas in P channel it is opposite. Okay. So in general, field effect means voltage plays the major role. So it is field effect. That is the field effect. Okay. So what is the structure? So this is the structure you can see. So for a N type, this is the N material and surrounding. Okay. So if you consider the cross-sectional view. So internally your n-type is available, and this external you can have it as particular to this region. This region we are having p-type. Okay, so like that we are there. So on cutting we can see these two are arranged. Cutting this cross section, we will be having this structure. Okay, so the gate is connected to p-type, whereas the basic material where which it is p-type is the n-type. Okay, so depending upon the supply what we provide here, it is going to allow the current from source to drain. Okay, so what will be in the basic, if you want to see this is a p-type and n-type, so what happens? There will be a barrier potential available here. So by the voltage what we provide at the gate, this barrier potential can be increased or can be decreased. Okay, so this barrier potential, okay, can be increased or decreased, so that allows the electron to flow from source to drain. So here also, like your BJT, there are three terminals: source, drain, and gate. Source is where the entire thing, like the emitter has the emitting all the electrons inside. Source is where all the electrons are depending upon n-type and p-type. It is the source. Whereas the gate is like allowing our household gate. Okay, whether it can increase the current, the charge carriers to the drain, or it can reduce. Okay, so the gate is going to act as a control, and drain is going to take it out, drain all the carriers. Okay, so it is called drain. So this is how it is constructed at the depletion layer. Okay, so that is what we are barrier potential plays the major role here. So either it is n-type or p-type. So this is the symbol and the structure. So how it is operated means we are going to apply negative supply. So 0 volt itself, there will be a channel available, so the electrons can flow depending upon your will. A positive or negative is given. So more number of electrons is given here. By attraction, these electrons are taken outside. Okay, but the conventional electron flow, it is like this. So like this, we will leave that one. So now how the gate control, if you are going to give more negative, what happens? All the holes are taken away. So it is completely depleted. Completely depleted, and the region is going to contact each other, and no charge areas can pass from drain. So this is how the gate controls in gate. So there are two characteristics you can see here. Like your BJT is input and output characteristics. Here they call it as transfer and drain characteristics. So what you mean by transfer? So transfer means from input to output. So you can see this is based upon input. Gate to source is the input, whereas the output we are seeing the characteristics is drain output. Okay, so it is called transfer characteristic. So for a N channel, so this is the thing. So increasing the negative voltage, what happens? The current reduces. Okay, it is opposite to the P channel. So this is the transfer characteristic. So change in the output due to the input. And the next one is what we call it as drain characteristic. It is similar to your normal BJT characteristic. So here you can see with respect to VDS for a particular input, when you increase the drain to source voltage, the current goes on into. And here also the three regions of operations are there. That is what we call cutoff, ohmic region, then saturation. Okay, so what is ohmic region? Here it is corresponding to change in the input, output also changes. So according to Ohm's law, change in voltage, change in current by constant resistance. Okay, so this is about output characteristic or drain characteristic. We call it as drain characteristic in gateway. So it is a depletion type. So for 0 volt, it will be having a high current. Okay, the channel will be available, so there will be high current. So decreasing the voltage, what happens? The depletion region will be meeting each other, and the number of carriers allowed will be very low. So biasing with respect to, we have seen operation and construction. With respect to biasing, this is having fixed bias. Okay, so fixed means by using a battery supply. Using a separate battery supply, we are biasing, so that is called fixed biasing. And self bias, we are just without any battery supply. So actually, these both are connected. Okay, so self biasing, its own biasing. Okay, and the last one is, you can see R1, R2 is there. So the input voltage is going to be divided at the input. We can call it as combinational bias, or we can call it as voltage divider bias. You can call it as voltage divider bias. So here self bias is very playing an important role. So here also, why we go for biasing? We know the region of operation is either it can be cut off, it can be in ohmic or in saturation. So you have to make sure in which region you need the operation. So accordingly you have to bias. The resistors has to be calculated and you have to be it. Okay. And you can get into the equation. Right. So what is the relationship? Here also three different configurations are there. Similar to your BJT, common source, common gate and common drain. Okay. So common source, you know, the source is common for input and output, common gate. So gate is going to be common for both input and output, and drain will be common. So that is how the configuration, and this is the configuration diagram for which you will be getting your output. So the same parameters in different way we are seeing here. Output resistance, input resistance. So this is voltage gain. Okay. So input impedance, output impedance. So these parameters derivation we will be seeing in small signal characteristics. Okay. So these are details with respect to biasing. Yeah. So biasing makes operating point to. So if you want to compare this JFET and BJT, JFET unipolar device. So N channel use only electrons playing major role, whereas in BJT both majority carriers and minor carriers both play the role there. Okay, and the operation depends upon depletion width. Okay, junction depletion width. So if the depletion width are high, so what happens on both the sides? It will be limiting the number of electrons or holes that flow from source to drain. So that is how it is controlled. Gate controls the thing. And JFET is voltage device and BJT is current driven device. And with respect to noise, high noise, because minority charge flow is there. Okay. So but here only majority, so noise level will be low. And very important factor of JFET is high input impedance due to the reverse bias. So input is reverse bias, and due to forward bias in BJT, here you will be having low input impedance. So high input impedance is a very important factor that we needed for many applications, functional applications. So we will be going for that. And gain is characterized by transconductance here, and here in BJT it is by voltage gain. So transconductance, conductance means transconductance means relating to input and output. Okay. So transfer, transconductance, everything is relating with respect to input and output. So that is how we are taking up. Now coming to the third category of transistors, very important thing is MOSFET. So metal oxide, semiconductor, field effect transistor. So the structure you can see, and there are two types, enhancement type and depletion. Depletion, we have seen the structure, everything new. So we are giving things here, the enhancement type. Okay. So enhancement or depletion type, we will be having a oxide layer between the gate and the channel. Okay. So that the channel is going to be formed. Okay. So there is a oxide layer. So why this is done is to electrically isolate. Electrically isolate. So only we can call these MOSFET devices as ideal switches, whereas the remaining things cannot be called as ideal switches because there is always a connection. But this SiO2, due to this dielectric, is electrically isolated, so it makes the MOSFET to be acting as a ideal switch. It can be used for ideal switch, making the conduction by giving a control at the gate. So similar to your JFET, this also has three terminals. source, gate, drain, and characteristics, everything same. Only the internal construction is done in a different way. For enhancement, you can see here how it is made. And in MOSFET, very important thing, if you notify in physical, there will be 4 terminals. Whereas in BJT and JFET only 3 terminals. So 3 terminals we know, we have seen that. Source, drain and gate. What is the fourth one is called substrate. We call it as substrate, or we can call it as body, or we can call it as bulb. So different names are given. So this is the basic substrate. Okay. The fourth terminal, and usually it will be connected with the source. Okay. In construction, when you are going for any application, it has to be connected with the source. So if it is not connected, what happens? The threshold voltage, what is required to turn on the transistor, will be high. Okay, it will be different, that makes the problem in the actual cycle. Okay, so we are not getting into deep. You will see once again coming back. The basic type enhancement. So enhancement needs normally off. So applying the gate voltage alone, it can be made. So what is the voltage needed for an enhancement type? The positive voltage is needed, whereas the remaining is negative voltage is remain. Positive voltage if you provide, more current will be going on increasing. But here in a MOSFET, and particularly N-channel MOSFET, we need a positive gate voltage to make it on. Otherwise, what will happen? So a minimum voltage is required for turning or making the channel to be available in the substrate. So that minimum voltage is what we call it as threshold. Whereas in JFET, there is an important term called pinch-off. Pinch-off voltage. So what do you mean by pinch-off voltage? So as the construction is like this, okay, and the depletion is going to be like this due to P and N. So this allowing, the allowing nature of this width, it is that particular voltage where your current becomes constant because of this space. A uniform space is available. Even though more electrons you are inject, output will be constant. It is like a common door in our classroom or houses. Even though the door is available, only 3 persons at a time can go. It may be a very huge crowd is coming into the college or house, but due to this gate control, only 3 or 4 can be allowed at the same time. So like that, even though more electrons, increasing the output voltage, more electrons are injected inside, the output will be a constant one because of this gate control. So that voltage, what we call it as pinch-off voltage. After pinch-off voltage, it is saturation. Your output current will be a constant. Okay, now coming to here, back to your MOSFET, this threshold voltage. What is threshold? This is the minimum voltage above which the channel can be created and the transistor can conduct current. Okay, right? So by applying a low VDS voltage, the conduction, current conduction go on. So this threshold voltage plays the major role. And usually this threshold voltage for a silicon is 0.7 and for germanium is 0.3. So that we can usually coming. And here also there is transfer and drain characteristics for MOSFET, and here you can see it is in positive when the voltage is positive, and we are considering it is N. So why always we are taking N type into account? Okay, so that is important question, because at a room temperature, electron mobility is usually to be 360 centimeters square per voltage second, whereas hole it is going to be only 480 centimeters square per voltage second. Okay, so that is a difference. So always we take electron type N type to be the basic functional unit. Okay, so this is why the difference at room temperature The mobility of the electron is very high compared to the holes, so we always prefer n-type devices. Right, coming back. So here in the MOSFET, N-channel MOSFET, you give a positive potential, then above the threshold voltage, the current starts increasing. That is output current with respect to the input voltage. That is what we call it as transfer characteristic. Whereas in the cutoff, whereas in the drain characteristic, we are seeing the same thing. Cutoff region, saturation region, and ohmic region. Particular when the gate source voltage is greater than threshold, we are getting into ohmic region, and increasing that we get into saturation. So three regions were limited in the channel. Okay. So what are the different biasings available here? And there are two types of biasing available here. One is called feedback, and the other one is voltage divider. MOSFET only has two. Okay. So feedback mechanism. So this is about feedback, and this is about voltage divider. Okay. And the characteristics accordingly it is shown here. So this is the basic biasing type of MOSFET. And when you compare BJT and MOSFET, you must know that BJT is a high speed device, whereas MOSFET is a low voltage device. That is the two things we have to know in common. Wherever you need it, depending upon application, why we go for MOSFET components or BJT components, where you will need more speed, BJT plays the role. Where we need power utilization to be very low, MOSFET will be there. So that is why your all mobile phones is based upon MOSFET. Right. So here is a comparison between JFET and MOSFET, how it is offered. So JFET only depletion mode is available, whereas MOSFET can have no depletion. And you can see the MOSFET low gate current. So very low gate current, and then ideally gate control here. Other characteristics. Time is limited, we will move to the next three more components I have to discuss. Okay, right. Next we are moving to UJT, Uni Junction Transistor. So what is UJT? So why it is playing a major role? So here you can see the structure. Similarly, your BJT there may be three terminals, but see this construction. You can see this construction. A P-type, usually aluminum, will be getting inside. And the construction makes there are two base terminals. Okay, and into electrical will be like this. A diode, because a P and N type is there, so there will be a deficient region. Okay, and we have this, and usually provided by beta VDD. So beta is what we call the intrinsic standoff phase. Okay, so this is with respect to RB1. And internally the construction is such a way, this RB2, the resistance offered near B2 terminals is a constant, or what we call it a fixed one, whereas it is a variable one which is nearer to the B1. And this controls your current, IB current. Okay, so you have to have this, and this is your structure and symbol. So the characteristics. So you can see the characteristics. When you increase the input, the output has also must increase. That is the usual thing we have. But there is a decrement in this. So why there is this decrement? So for this you have to consider the constructional detail. So this is a PG region available, and here it is emitter connected, and here you are applying this emitter current. So this emitter current due to the external supply, okay, external power supply, it is going to increment. Okay, so when it is going to increment when I apply a external force or the external battery supply. But when this is getting inside, this is a very large area, and this is lightly doped. Okay, lightly doped compared to your emitter terminal. So what happens? Lightly doped means what? The concentration of P-type material is N-type material is going to be very low. Okay, so the charge carriers are low. So when a very high concentration gets into a very low concentration, what happens? Where the movement of charge carriers is limited. The movement of charge carriers, what we call it as current. as when it is getting inside, it is limited, the current gets down. Okay, it is going to be, that is with respect to voltage. The potential, because that is nothing but the concentration of gas carrier is going to decrement. But when due to this, no number of charge carriers are getting inside, it gets into a more concentration. Then after a certain value, it is going to increase. That is the moment you start to increase. So it will be related with the external force and it is going to increment. So here two parameters. One is called IP and IV. So this is called valley current and peak current. Similarly, valley voltage and peak voltage, they play the major role, and it depends upon the company which is producing this UJT. This places the major role, and usually it will be used in UJT means relaxation oscillator. So oscillator means what? It will be changing between these two, getting into this negative resistance and coming outside. Like that, it will be going on and it will be generating, oscillating a output waveform. So that is the purpose it will be used for this UJT. So usually normal example for UJT application is a relaxation oscillator, which is based upon a resistor and capacitor, which plays the timing. Okay, right. So we have the characteristics. So usually this is used for triggering the silicon control rectifiers and triacs, and other UJT applications include generation of signals. Okay, that is particularly sawtooth generation and other oscillations and phase control. And yeah, normally it is called relaxation oscillator. Example of UJT, where it will be used in that. Now coming to the second important component is what we call it as thyristor. The thyristor, which is a 4-layer device, and we have the different junctions. So we call it as 3 junctions. Three junctions, and the actual internal structure is a PNP transistor along with a NPN transistor. Okay, so this is how it is combined to form a FR, and this symbol is given here. Okay, so this is a 4-layer device. 4-layer device. And usually these are used for bistable switch. Bistable. And what is the difference between this component and other components is very important. In this we can control large current. Okay. So many power electronics applications, this structure will be used because it can, that is the current in terms of 100 amps and voltage in terms of 1000 voltages also it can take it up. So it plays a very important role. When you come to the characteristics, we have to see about 3 different characteristics. One is what we call it as reverse blocking blow. So we call it forward blocking mode and forward conduction mode. So these are the important things in terms of characteristics we have to know. Forward conduction mode. So what is the reverse blocking? So as it is a reverse bias, it is not going to have current, so this is called reverse blocking, okay, normal thing. So where it will be reverse bias. So reverse biasing means we are going to have when you are applying a supply like this, positive, negative, okay. So what happens? This is positive, negative, so this will be forward bias according to the power supply. So this junction also forward bias, and this junction alone is reverse bias. Okay, so applying the gate control appropriately, you can control your current in this direction. Okay, so that is when it is reverse bias, then by control you can go for So in the forward bias means even though the diode is forward bias, you cannot have a control change in the J2 junction, that means forward blocking. In reverse bias, completely you cannot have current conduction. In forward means the voltage is forward bias, but in the J2 alone is reverse bias, so it is blocking the current flow, so it is called forward blocking mode. Then forward conduction mode, that junction is changed by applying your control, that is your gate control itself. Okay, so the current conduction takes place. So that is what is called it as. So here you can see that is by gate you can trigger, otherwise by your forward voltage you can also trigger this gate. So this is called breakover voltage, that is the higher voltage at which the J2 junction depletion of carriers takes place, then increasing the voltage, what happens? More. Similar to your reverse bias condition of a diode. Okay, so the junction, the covalent bonds start vibrating and may be ruptured, and electron hole pairs will be generated, and immediately current conduction takes place. Thus, you can from externally you can apply the gate control voltage to make the current conduction. Okay, triggering. Okay, so this is and the reverse thing same similar to a diode. Okay, so this is the characteristics of a thyristor, and very important, the voltage and current related to the thyristor is of very high, whereas in BJT it can only take in of millivolt and milliamps. Okay, so be careful of this relation of the powers. So thyristor will be used in power electronics. So it will be used for rectifiers, that is high voltage rectifiers, then phase fired controllers, light dimmers, motor drive speed controllers, and strobe. So everything here related is of high power. Okay. So for low power, that is millivolt and milliamp, you can go for BJT and FET devices. But thyristors will be used for high voltage and high current. Now coming to the last topic, is what we call it as insulated gate bipolar transistor. So we can see gate comes from FET. So it is a combination of FET and so here you can see it is a MOSFET device along with BJT. Both are combined in such a way we are having this characteristic. So usually from the structure you can understand it is not only a single MOSFET and single BJT. You can see there, you can either in terms of N, P, N, if you take it is NPN transistor, if you take in terms of V, N, P, you can take it as the transistor. So two transistors are available inside BJT, NPN and VSD also available. So the construction makes the electrical equivalent to be like that. Okay, and the symbol for this IGBT is like a gate. So it is related to MOSFET. So there is a separation between the electrical isolation is available between the charge carrier conduction and the control, and emitter and collector are the other two terminals. Okay. So this can be operated by applying the external voltage from emitter and collector. So you can see the emitter is applied with the negative, and here the positive, which makes the junction J1 and J2 are operated bias. Okay. Now, applying this gate control voltage, you can change the internal characteristics. So positive here, as it is according to capacitor concept. Okay. So as it is positive, it will be accumulating electrons inside. So electrons will be accumulated. Okay, and the holes will be moved out, okay, depleted out. So there is a movement of electrons. The channel will be created for movement of electrons between emitter and collector. So this is how it is operated by your gate supply. So the characteristic, if you see, this is the characteristic. So the input with respect to gate emitter voltage, the collector current, this is normal transfer characteristic. Okay, so above the threshold value, the channel is created, then the current starts into. That is, the charge carriers move through the channel and the charge moves. And here, VI characteristics in terms of IGBT. So for a particular voltage of gate emitter, we have your collector current to get stabilized, that is saturated. And this voltage, as you can see, it is movement of plate. So more the gate control voltage positive in terms of height, output current will be of very high value. So this is thing. So important application, as I is already told, BJT is included. It is high speed wave, so it is used for switching, high speed switching application. So in the previous case, we have seen it is for high power, high current, high power switching, and here this is used for fast. Okay, speed is also taken into account. Okay, so as you are combining both the things, MOSFET and so MOSFET gives important characteristics as low saturation. No, this belongs to it. There are two properties. Which goes for input impedance. Okay, input impedance is the feature of MOSFET, and BJT is low saturation voltage. Okay, so these two properties are combined for IGBT, insulated gate bipolar transistor, and this is the major role. And various names are used to call this thing. For example, it is called insulated gate transistor, metal oxide insulating gate transistor, gain modulated gate effect transistor. Like that, many names are used. Okay. And here there are two things whenever you go for this IGBT. One is called punch-through and non-punch-through. So what we mean by punch-through, that N plus buffer layer, if it is present, then it is called punch-through. If it is not available, then it is called non-punch-through. Okay. So based upon this, the breakdown things will be different, and they will be acting, that is functional characteristics will be different. So the punch-through will be usually used in for DC application, whereas non-punch-through will be used for AC. Okay, so you must be careful. There will be confusion about punch-through. Punch-through does have N plus layer because it is pushing, and without that layer it is not pushing, the non-punch-through, which is used for AC application. So that we have. Then important applications, as I already told, wherever we need fast switching and need pulse width modulation, so this IGBT will be used. Okay, so industrial applications are consumer and different applications. These are the references where I have taken all these materials for this presentation. Thank you all for patience to go through this complete time.